All right, everybody, thanks for joining. This is Bill Van Orsdel from BookFuel with today's Wednesday webinar. Today we're going to tackle marketing your book, the pre-launch phase. I'll talk about phases and all of that as we go through today's presentation. Thanks again for joining. Before we get started, I want to let everybody know that we're recording this for playback later. So in case you have to leave or you want to rewatch it later, sometime around midnight tonight, you should collect an email link with a playback link for the presentation, including all the slides and all the audio. I am happy to send the slides to anyone who will send me an email. bill.venorza@bookfuel.com. It's very easy to package these up as a PDF, and I think that today's presentation is going to have a lot of links in it that you may want to capture, and the easiest way to do it is in a slide rather than scribbling down notes as we go. Quick checklist. Let's check our assumptions. Today, I'm assuming that you're treating publishing as a business. And, you know, it's funny, I was reading a blog article today that was talking about how the second job of a publisher is no longer your day job. The second job of a self-published author is no longer your day job. It's actually your marketing. So welcome to the second job of being a self-published author, that is marketing your book. I'm also assuming that you know your target market very, very well. You've defined them. You know whether your target readers are also your target buyers. For some of you, they may be a different group, and you've defined that. You've written that out in a statement. My target readers are, and it's a very narrow, well-defined group of people. And not only have you done that, but you know where they go or where they are to be found, where they aggregate online and in the offline world. And I'm going to assume that your book is polished, it's edited, and it's nearly ready for publication. It might be text ready, maybe you're just working on the final layout or you're working on the book cover. But the reason, of course, I'm assuming it's ready, you'll see when we come up on some of these marketing ideas. A quick word from our sponsor, BookFuel. This is not a sales pitch. This is more of a how-to-do. I'm sorry, this is not a how-to-do. This is more of a here are the things that you should give your attention as a self-published author. We have this great product called BookFuel.com. It's really an online service. It's a web wizard. It's an assistant. It's a publishing assistant. I think you could get some traction if you check it out. Helping writers become successful authors is our number one priority, hands down. I'm going to start with the same slide that I always wrap up with, which is the key points that we're going to talk about today. And the first one is that you should create an author-driven, phased marketing plan. I'll talk about those phases again and the importance of sort of only planning on doing the marketing that you will actually execute. I think that's a pretty good rule to live by. You also need to have some understanding of consumer behavior, consumer buying behavior. I've got 3 or 4 or 5 different models. We'll talk about them just very briefly. We don't have to be an expert in marketing to apply marketing principles to our work as self-published authors. And then I'm going to give you a whole bunch of ideas about how to drive awareness during your pre-launch, how to prepare for interest during your pre-launch, how to get yourself ready for trial and evaluation during your post-launch, and of course pre-launch, and same thing's true for getting ready for the purchase phase, even during the purchase step, even during your pre-launch phase. I've also got a list of a couple slides worth of marketing tools that I think are worth investigating, some websites and programs you need to learn about right now, and then I'll close with a final word on how important it is to measure the effects of your marketing to know whether what you're doing is actually creating value for you as a self-published author. So I break self-publishing marketing into 3 phases. There's that period before your book is available for sale, and maybe even leaking into a little bit after it's up for sale but doesn't have more than a dozen reviews. I call all of that your pre-launch. You don't really have something to sell, or you have it up for sale and you're not certain you want to drive people to that conversion page, but this is kind of the warm-up. These are all the things you need to know, do, get started. Some of the things we're going to talk about require advanced scheduling, and then you've actually got the launch. This is when you're getting out of the pack of the 1,500 books that are launched every single day in the United States, trying to get yours to capture a little bit of the attention of the market out there. You've got a dozen or more reviews already before you're going to try and launch your book and start driving conversion traffic to your sales pages. And then the final stage is your post-launch. So you're away from the line, you're out of the pack, your book is up for sale in all the places where your distribution strategy says it should be, and you're trying to steadily climb yourself up in the Amazon sales rank and in the rankings of the other stores that are out there, so you can get yourself into the top 50,000 authors. Again, as I said before, only plan on doing the marketing activities that you will execute. And I want to encourage you to, at any time, I've tried to eliminate as much jargon as possible, but at any time, if you want me to slow down, speed up, answer a question, throw me a question up in the question box in your interface, and I'll shout out, give you some kudos. I'll try to answer the question right there, or we'll put it in the parking lot for afterwards. So I said before, there are a couple of different buying behavior models out there in the marketing world. Common one that you might see is number 4, awareness, interest, decision, action. Another pretty common one is number 2. Consumers discover they have a need, they're hungry. They search the icebox for food. They evaluate which of the things in the icebox they want to eat, and then they choose one. Or they go down to the corner store and pick one because there was nothing in the icebox. And then how do they feel about it post-purchase? So there are a couple, they all are roughly follow the same kind of process. So I'm going to stick with number 5. It's the one I like the most. It's basically awareness. How does my target market become aware of my book, that my book exists and that it might solve a need they have now or will have in the future? Once they're aware my book exists, how do I get them interested? How do I set the hook to get them to even consider my book, to evaluate and maybe even give my book or a chapter of it, or look at the reviews that others have written about it, to give it a chance? So awareness, interest, and then we go into the evaluation/trial, and then into the purchase phase. Now, there's always repeat purchase, especially if you have more than one book out, or you have a book that people might give as gifts. So you could tack that one onto the end of this, but we're going to just focus on the number 5 model today. And so if you were to take those 3 phases, those 3 author phases, pre-launch, launch, and post-launch, and break it down into the 4 steps in the consumer buying behavior: awareness, interest, trial and evaluation, and then purchase, you'd see a 12-grid box like this. And a well thought out, a well organized marketing plan will have tactics that go into each one of these 12 blank boxes. So there might be 5 things I do for awareness in the pre-launch stage, then there might be 3 things, or there might be 11 things I do during the launch phase to increase awareness that my book is out there. There might be 4 more long-term things that I do during the post-launch phase, or some of those might be continuations of what I did during the launch phase for my book to continue to drive awareness. So I have a whole layer of awareness things that I'm going to do to drive people toward my website, to drive them toward my sales pages for Amazon. And then once they're there, I have another layer of things that I do to generate interest, to make sure that people, once I've gotten them to that page, that they don't bounce away, that they don't leave, that I set a hook. I tug on, usually, even for nonfiction books, I tug on their emotion, some kind of an emotion. And so, again, I would put tactics in the pre-launch phase bucket for interest, and then in the launch phase bucket, and the post-launch phase bucket. So you can see, even if you put just one thing in each of these 12 boxes, you're going to have 11 significant marketing activities, some of which might be free, some of which might be part of what you're already doing in the production phase, some of which might cost money. But you can already see that even if you have the most simple plan with one thing in each box, that's a dozen things that you're going to be doing to market your book. And by the way, there's probably, I've seen a couple of books on 1,001 things you can do to market your book. So, out there, the experts believe that there are probably realistically 200 things you can do to market a book. If you really want to expand it and go crazy, maybe say there's 1,000. And for your book, your individual book with your individual target market and your individual goals as a writer, out of those 200 things, maybe 100 of them would apply. And maybe your budget is capable for paying for only 20 of them. How do you pick the right 20 and put in these boxes? That's beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today, but it's something you need to think about as an author. How do I whittle down all the tools that are available to me and concentrate on just the ones that are going to get me results that I can measure? So today, we're going to concentrate on the pre-launch phase. We're going to talk about the marketing stages of awareness, interest, trial evaluation, and purchase, and we'll talk about ideas, things you can do to fill in each of these 4 boxes. You may not want to do all 6 or 7 things in each of the boxes that I'm about to lay out. Again, only pick the marketing things that you want to do, but understand that this is the setup phase. This is where you're laying the marketing groundwork for the launch of your book. So you're getting ready for the launch phase. So let's talk about each one of these 7 ideas about how to generate awareness during your pre-launch. So remember, pre-launch, your book may not be finished, right? Hopefully your editing is done and your book is text perfect, but you may not have a cover done yet. So we're early on the process, but you do have some atomizable content that you can put out there. So let's talk about some of those. So everyone on the call is going to do a book cover or has already done a book cover. And if you did the book cover, or while you're doing the book cover, it's you can make a game or run a poll or run a contest out of your book cover selection. Most book cover artists or services will give you back, or if you're going to create it yourself, you'll probably create 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 different directions for your book cover. And each one of them will be sort of a rough example or a composite of what it could look like. You can take those 6, throw them up in a poll service, and ask your future or current fans or current users of your service, if you've got a nonfiction prescriptive book, to vote on which of these covers is most compelling. Which of these covers makes me want to run out and buy this book? That's an easy way to generate awareness that you have a book coming and that it will be out soon if you're asking people to help you with your book cover selection. And of course, anytime you engage your fan base, make sure, of course, that you're humble, thankful, and that you actually listen to their feedback. So that's pretty important. The number one thing, I know I have it on here as number 2, but the number one thing that I tell all authors, especially nonfiction authors, is that you need to be building a permission-based email list. And you could be building this with free giveaways on your author anchor site, your author blog, on your Facebook page. You need to be creating a list of people who said to you, yes, you have my permission to email me when your book comes out, or when you have something exciting to tell me about your book, or when you want me to vote on your book cover, for example. So building that permission-based email list, pre-launch, during launch, post-launch, this is certainly one of those things that lasts throughout all of the stages of your marketing, all the phases of your marketing. It's absolute gold for any self-published author. If you haven't looked into Wattpad, or it has a smaller competitor out there called Figment.com, and you've got a fiction book, doing chapter releases on Wattpad, especially if you have a YA book or young adult fiction book, this is a great way to gain a following and to get some feedback about your writing and about your story and about how things are progressing. So if you haven't looked at Wattpad already, you should take a look at it. Set up an account. And just like all these services, and I'll start with Wattpad, I know that none of you out there would say to yourselves, well, I plan on creating an ebook of my book, even though I've never read one. And I don't know what an ebook looks like. I've never thumbed my way through one. I know that everybody out there who says they're going to create an ebook out of their book has actually created an ebook. Well, Wattpad and many of the services I'm going to mention next, like Goodreads and so forth, they're all the same. You want to go out there and you want to make an account on Wattpad, and maybe the first thing you do is not uploading a chapter in your book, but actually go out there and look and see what other authors are doing, and by the way, what other successful authors seem to be doing. That is, authors who have the greatest following on Wattpad. But consider using Wattpad or Figment as a method of generating some awareness before your book's even done. There are plenty of people that post on Wattpad before they've even, with their rough drafts of their chapters, and they get feedback about their story arc and their character arc and their plot choices, and they let that feedback inform their writing of the rest of the book. So that's a very valuable way to generate some awareness during your pre-launch. Also, you need to start posting comments to review blogs in your genre and community blogs in your target market. So I'm sure when you were doing the research to define your target market, you found that there are a half a dozen or a dozen or 2 dozen or 3 or 1 review blog out there that reviews books specifically in your genre. So it reviews romance books or science fiction books or books on weight loss or books on business success or memoirs. And you found this blog or these blogs or you found this community of professionals who all contribute to this same nonfiction space that you're writing in. So what I'm advising you to do here is go out and join those communities. Start participating, and by the way, when you join them, you know, I'd say two things. First of all, you want to have an avatar or a posting name that references you as a real person. So Huggy Bear 256 is not a great username when you're posting on books about you know, how to succeed in business, right? So think critically about what you do. Whenever I post, I always use either B Van Orsdel or Bill.Van Orsdel or Bill Van Orsdel all run together, because I intend to say nice, supportive, helpful things. And I want the people that run those blogs, that run those community blogs and run those review blogs to remember who I am. Because later, when I'm in my launch phase or my post-launch phase, and I come back with my book and I ask them if they would be kind enough to review it, they're going to remember that I've been in this community already for 6 months to a year, that I've been contributing, I've been saying nice things about other authors and about what the blog is doing. And so it's not like I join the community and the very first thing I say is, I've got a new book out, buy my book. JJ's got a question, says, is there a resource for finding the correct review blogs? And in this case, JJ says she's got one about mind, body, and spirit. So I know this is going to sound crazy, JJ, but there is a great resource, and it's just the clever way of doing searches in Google. So you're going to go in Google, and you're going to look up review blog. Pick the name of your genre. So part of the research that you're doing when you go produce your book is to go pick what genre the 4 genres that your book is going to appear in the Amazon store. Go Google review blogs genre name to go find the right genres. And you don't have to sort of start participating in every one you find immediately. It's okay to lurk a little and read some back articles and see, is this reviewer friendly to your genre or not friendly to your genre before you begin participating. There's also another source out there. I'll take an action item to find it and hopefully add it to this presentation before it goes out, JJ. There is a specific blog ranking service out there. I can't remember the name of it. Someone in the audience might know, but yeah, there is also a service out there that for many of the mainstream commercial genres that sort of says, all right, here's a list of all the great genres all the great blogs in your genre. So my point about here, number 4, is you want to join the community where you plan to begin marketing at launch way ahead of your launch and start making a footprint in there. And one of the things you're also going to want to do when you do that, I mentioned having a good screen name, so Bill.Van Orsdel or B Van Orsdel or Bill V, whatever it is. You're also going to want a professional sounding email. So, again, I'll make one up. Mama Bear 1952 at AOL.com is probably not the best email address for someone writing business books or writing, just about any kind of fiction. You want to go get a professional sounding email. There are a number of places to do it. If you have to do Gmail, that's okay. That's acceptable. But my guess is that when you created your author anchor website, which you should probably have already done before you finished your book, your hosting provider probably gave you the chance to have an email that you could put any name in front of @mywebsite.com, and you should do that. And again, that name should be your professional name as an author. If it has to be your pen name, then it has to be your pen name. That's fine as well. Similarly, when I talked about finding the communities where there are review blogs and community blogs, go join Goodreads. Start participating in Goodreads as a reader now. Goodreads has got a little bit of a mixed reputation for authors. There was, and there may still be, a community in Goodreads that is abusive to authors and that isn't well checked by the moderators in Goodreads. So you have to be very careful and understand sort of the rules of Goodreads. But if you join now and begin understanding, what are the good groups to join, how do authors successfully navigate their way around Goodreads, it can be a good resource for you. And it's almost certain that you're going to want to set up an author page on Goodreads the same way you set one up on Amazon. And so you need to understand how to construct that in a way that is going to be received well by the millions of users at Goodreads. During your pre-launch, you're also providing advanced review copies out to the potential suppliers of blurbs or reviews. So in your close personal network, you've got colleagues in the nonfiction world who practice in your space, or who have also written books in your space, and you'd like them to write your book and kindly bless you with a nice blurb. So you're going to package up an advanced reader copy, which is usually a PDF. You probably don't even have to have the cover if you don't want it. And you send that out, and you're asking for blurbs and reviews, so that when you get to the launch phase, you can add those blurbs and those reviews as appropriate, either on the front of your book, the back of your book, or the bottom of your long or short book description. Similarly, during this awareness phase, you're going to want to start to investigate BookBub and FreeBooksy and and Bargain Booksy. There are a number of similar paid and free services. Some are very genre focused, some are very broad, but with the ability to deliver genre targeted messages. So you want to go look at bookbub.com and find sites like it and understand what would it cost to get on BookBub, assuming they would accept my book, and what are their minimum requirements. BookBub actually they're the most successful service out there, and in fact, you should subscribe to BookBub today. It's free, and you go to BookBub and you tell it what genre you're interested in, and at the very least, you're going to tell it that you're interested in the genre that you write in, because you want to start receiving their daily emails. Even if you only take 5 seconds a day, look at the email, look at the books they're promoting, and look at the descriptions. It'll give you a good idea of how to use or how to prepare yourself to use this very valuable service when you get to your launch phase. Okay, any questions about awareness activities during pre-launch? These are some very basic ones. Do you have to do all of these? I'd say you probably want to do most of them. They're free. Let's see, all of these. Maybe providing ARCs might take a little bit of money to get someone to put together a book for you, but these are all free activities that you can do to get yourself prepared for some pretty strong awareness activities during your launch and post-launch phase. So let's talk about interest. Now remember, interest is setting the hook, finding the emotion, and hitting that chord with your potential reader or your potential buyer. And there are a number of things you can do here. The first thing I would do is you need to inventory your social media presence. Where are you? Where are you not? And is there a reason for that? And I'm not talking only about your social media presence in the social media that you own. So, technically, if you will, you own your Facebook page, your LinkedIn profile, you own your Twitter handle, you own your, right? You have you set up a congruent or harmonious banner or look or brand across all of these sites? And by the way, then there's also all the places where you want to be commenting or guest blogging. So, are you out there in social media joining in on the communities where you're later going to be marketing your book? You need to take a strong inventory and see what's out there, and where you're not participating, begin participating. And I don't mean you should be doing this for 8 hours a day. This should hopefully be no more than 30 minutes a day, these social media activities that you do. I mentioned before getting a professional sounding email address. I think that's pretty important. Making sure your social media tags are all congruent. So, your Facebook page, your Twitter handle, all have the same or nearly the same handle, social media handle, so that you can start building your brand as an author. And if you haven't, you must start building and promoting and constructing your anchor site right now. And what's an anchor site? An anchor site is www.billvanorsdel.com or billvanorsdelauthor.com, or it's the name of my series, or it's the name of my main character, or it's the name of my publishing company that I publish all my books under. But it is a site whose URL I own. So it is not billvanorsdel.wordpress.com, because I don't own WordPress. I don't get to decide whether ads get shown on WordPress or not. I'll give you later a couple of excellent sites that can help you construct an anchor site and host it and make it look extraordinarily professional and still let you own it. And you're going to, on your anchor site, to generate interest around your book, you're going to start atomizing the content from your book. So whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you're going to take chapters, or you're going to take tips and tricks, or you're going to take the best of, or some cliffhangers, or some character studies, or chapter. You're going to take, let's say you got a fiction book, you're going to take chapters that that you edited out of the book because the book was too long, but you still thought that the chapter was very interesting, and you're going to put those up on your anchor site. You put your character studies up on your anchor site. Put your research up on your anchor site. The idea is to start populating your anchor site now with reasons for people who become aware that you've got a book coming out to get interested in your book. And of course, as soon as your book cover is done, you want to put that up on your anchor site with a little coming soon blurb. And by the way, just if you haven't done it already, when you decide to create your anchor site, make sure you're using a responsive design. And responsive design is the current techie code phrase for it looks good on smaller screen mobile devices. So when people hear about you, or they scan your QR code on the back of your bookmark, or on the back of your author business card, and they're on their phone or they're on their tablet, and they're visiting your website still looks as good as it can on a small phone, or on a mini tablet, or on a standard size iPad tablet. So responsive design is something that you want to look for or ask for when you're building your anchor site. It's pretty important. There are a number of studies out that indicate the rise of mobile devices is sort of unstoppable. And there are now more mobile devices out than there are PC devices. And in fact, I think the last study I saw said that there are more mobile devices being manufactured every day around the world than there are people being born around the world every day. So there are a lot of website gurus who will tell you design for mobile devices first, and that's what a responsive design does for you. You need to, as you're getting ready for the interest stage during your pre-launch phase, you want to tighten up your metadata. Make sure that you're using SEO friendly keywords and key phrases. You need to work on your long and your short book descriptions, so that when you're not around to talk about your book, these book descriptions are what is doing it for you, and they're selling your book. You know, I've seen more than one recommendation that says you almost have to hand sell your first 1,000 books, and once you can get that far, the word of mouth will pick up on its own. The ARCs that we talked about earlier, the advanced reader copies, share those with peers, and take the blurbs that you get back and generate a little buzz. That's a great way to generate interest in an upcoming book. Hugh Howey did this pretty effectively when Ridley Scott optioned his book Wool. He made a little splash with that in the press, and that happened to be what grabbed my attention to go pick up his book for the first time. I thought, because Prometheus had just been out, I thought if Ridley Scott liked this book, then I might like it too, so I went and bought it. If you've got a nonfiction book, you need to start collecting testimonials. I mean, especially if you've got a prescriptive nonfiction book, so a diet book, or a personal transformation book, or a overcoming obstacles book, or a personal success transformation book. You want to go out and start collecting testimonials from the people that are already following your advice, using your program, and getting results. You're going to need those testimonials later. And then another thing you can do to build interest during your pre-launch is build a Pinterest board with images from your book research. So, you know, maybe you, as a writer, when you're creating your book, you have different images of what your protagonists and your antagonists and your supporting characters look like, or what the scenes look like, or what the world looks like. Maybe for your nonfiction book, similarly, you've got images that really drive home certain points in your book. And to help keep them forefront in your mind during your writing, you created a Pinterest board. If you're not familiar with what Pinterest is, you need to go out there and create an account. Again, hopefully using the same social media, congruent social media handle that you're using everywhere else. And start using that book to gain followers. And then that's a way that you can then later also, once you launch, let people know that your book's out. Show them the book cover. Okay, any questions about generating interest during this pre-launch phase? It's pretty quiet. Is there anybody still out there? Somebody just throw me a question so I feel like I still have the audio on. I appreciate it. All right, let's move on. All right, trial and evaluation during pre-launch. So with a book, it's pretty, thanks, Christine. Hey, it's good to see you, Christine. Thanks for coming. So trial and evaluation during pre-launch. So, you know, think about the way you typically used to buy books. Say 10 years ago, you'd walk into a bookstore, you'd go to the rack, you'd pick one up, you'd read the first few pages, you'd flip it over, you'd look at the back cover. These are the kinds of things that we need to prepare for when we're in the pre-launch phase, preparing for the trial and evaluation stage. So the first thing I tell all the authors I work with is you need a list of about 400 potential reviewers. And so maybe 50, maybe on the outside 80 of those reviewers, if this is your first book, might be friends and family, some of whom like your genre or your subject area, some of whom have a need or have an interest in your nonfiction book or not. But what you really want is you want the hardcore Amazon reviewers out there. You want to create a list of 400 potential reviewers and expect, just to make sure you understand, expect that only about 10% of those reviewers will actually write a review, maybe even just 5%. So out of these 400 names, you may get 20 reviews. So you need to assemble this list. You need to complete your availability research, and that's simply you've got to email them and ask them, are they still accepting books for review? Do they still accept books in your genre? Are they still accepting books from self-published authors? And then you've got an ask email, right? It's the humble, thank you very much for even considering reviewing my book. I would be more than pleased to send you a copy if you think you might have time to review it. Please tell me your preferred format, and I'll get it out the door right away. And as you get close to having that review copy available, either in a print-on-demand setup or in a good ebook, that's when you launch that email campaign. And you send out those 400 emails or fill out those boxes on all of those book review blogs and get your reviewers working for you so that the reviews can be pouring into your Amazon and into other sites. You want to also package up a book sample. So it might be your first act. It might be the inciting incident. It might be your first chapter. It might be the first 20% of your book. Put together a book sample that someone doesn't have to stay on your website to consume. And JJ's got a question. It says, can't you just send them your ebook in the query email to reviewer? JJ, you can, but that does make the assumption that they want to read it as an ebook, and they may actually want to read your book as a print book, which there'll be some cost to that to you, right? Because your review copies are always going to be free. That's just what professional publishers do. You can, of course, just attach it to the query, but I would recommend that you don't, because even if all they have to do is reply one word back to your query email and say yes, then yes, dash Mobi, yes, dash EPUB, yes, dash PDF, yes, dash print, here's my mailing address. What you've then gotten them to do, JJ, is to signal an investment, that they've actually invested some time in requesting your book. Now, that still doesn't mean there was just a great article about this as well, though. You haven't set up a contract with your reviewers by sending them a review copy. Even if it costs you money, reviewers, things happen, and their plate gets full, and you may send out of the 400 potential reviewers, you may send out 100 copies and still only get 20 reviews. And don't feel like those 80 other people have cheated you. It's just the way the industry works, because for so long, traditional publishers, every time they launch a book, they'll send out 1,000 free copies to book reviewers everywhere. And any book reviewer will tell you, yeah, we used to get 2 boxes every single day of books unsolicited that reviewers were asking us to review in our newspaper or in our periodical publication. And so by asking them to ping you back with a yes or an address, you're actually getting a little bit of investment, which I think is a good practice. Start to understand how giveaway campaigns work on Goodreads. You're not ready to launch one, or you may not be ready to launch one yet, but a giveaway campaign is a good way to start generating some interest on Goodreads, and it's a pretty well-accepted way to do it. Goodreads has a couple of tools designed for authors, and that's probably the best one that they've got. If you've got a nonfiction book, and even if you've got a fiction book, you want to start to build out your media or your press kit to post on your anchor site. And so that's going to have your book launch press release. It's going to have a couple of different headshots of you. It's what the media will use if they want to promote your book without ever having to contact you and find you. It's stuff that you wouldn't feel bad if it got out there. Also, consider doing a little research and find another, it could be self-published author, it could be traditional published author, but self-published is probably the best one. Find another author in your genre and suggest a chapter swap. So at the end of your book, make sure it's a book, make sure the author has written a book that you liked and that you would feel okay promoting, and suggest to that author, hey, how about if I put the first couple of chapters or the first chapter of your book at the end of my book as a method for promoting it every time I sell one of my books, and you do the same. You put my hard-hitting, fantastic first chapter that really grabs the readers by the seat of their pants at the end of your book with, of course, a link on how to find my book online and buy it. It's a great way to sort of capitalize on the marketing work that other people are doing, really at very little cost to you. Also, I want you to consider a professional copywriter review of your book descriptions, or even your editor. I mean, Christine would probably agree with this. In fact, I think I saw her write an article about this a couple of days ago, or maybe a couple weeks ago. Copywriting is not something that as authors, we're typically adept at, and that's okay. We write books. We don't write advertising copy, but your book description is advertising copy, and it needs to be sharp. It needs to set an emotional hook, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and it would be great to have a professional look at that and help you craft a very compelling long and short book description. Okay, purchase. You said, Bill, that my book's not available for purchase yet. How could you possibly do anything during the pre-launch phase to set up for purchase? Well, there's actually quite a bit you need to do to get yourself ready for the purchase phase. So you need to find out if in your state, if it's possible to join the Amazon affiliate program. And if it is, you probably want to join the affiliate program, and so that you'll be able to later secure some affiliate tag book links. That means that if you're going to promote your own book from your website and send traffic to Amazon, so you've spent your marketing time, energy, and dollars driving traffic to your website, and you've decided, because it's a valid choice, not to sell your book directly to the people that visit your website, but instead send them off to their favorite ecosystem retailer, so it's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, so on and so forth. At least get the affiliate fee from Amazon for that link that you send out to them. Also, Amazon has the ability to show you how to put a book widget on your anchor site. There are some other services out there as well that can help you do a book widget for your anchor site, but a book widget can look really good if done properly in the sidebar of your anchor site. Also, you want to give some real thought here to your optimal channel/distribution strategy. There's a lot to be learned about the KDP Select program. There are a lot of opinions out there about whether the restrictions, which is specifically the exclusivity that Amazon requires of the KDP Select program, are worth it, whether they're worth it long time, whether they're worth it short term. So you want to go look and understand, what does the KDP Select program do for me, and how does it impact either my launch or my long-term or my short-term distribution strategy? And distribution strategy is nothing more than simply, where is it that I'm going to put my books up for sale? I'm going to put them up for sale in CreateSpace. I'm going to put them up for sale in Barnes & Noble, on the Google Play Store, on the Apple Store. Where am I going to do that? And if I choose KDP Select, what does that do to that strategy, including putting them up for sale on my own website? Also, you may want to think about, especially if this isn't your first book, right? If this is your second or third book, or especially second or third book in a series, you may want to look at the Smashwords pre-order functionality and see if that fits your channel and distribution strategy. Now, pre-orders aren't available to self-published authors at the Amazon store. I hope they become available someday. They're just not available yet. But Smashwords has created a deal with Barnes & Noble and Kobo and Apple, I believe, to do pre-orders. Now, this is something that requires 4 or 5 weeks of advanced planning, so you can't just decide that you're going to do it this weekend and hope it works next Friday. But all of the details can be found on the Smashwords.com website. And if either this is not your first book and or part of a series, or you are planning a very big marketing program to support the launch of your book, this is something worth looking at, because pre-order success can drive your book up the bestseller list and help you keep it there with sort of an echo effect afterwards. If you're planning on selling your ebook from your anchor site, you should look at Gumroad, gumroad.com. It's got a great utility. Now, there may be e-commerce functions built into whatever anchor site provider you select, but if you're going to do this yourself, like let's say you've gone to GoDaddy, you bought a URL, you had them set up the WordPress blog for you, you can use Gumroad very easily to sell digital content from your website. So you may actually sell your book, you may sell pieces of your book, you may sell enhancements to your book. Gumroad is a great way to do it. And if you are planning on selling at the back of the room and you haven't set up Square or something like it, you probably want to look into doing that as well. So especially if you've got a nonfiction book, or if you plan to do a lot of speaking engagements, even with your fiction book, where you're going to try and sell at the back of the room, find a mobile payments accepting tool like Square.com and give them a try. Okay, so I've talked about a bunch of tools in those 4 pages of ideas. I'm going to add some more to them. We talked about the Amazon Affiliates Program and how valuable that can be. I'm also going to recommend the WordPress blog software on your site. Don't go set up a blog at yourname.wordpress.org or com or whatever, because, again, you want to own and control your own site. And the reason I recommend WordPress is not necessarily because it has to be the best or the biggest, but because there are so many relevant plugins for authors, and they're very easy to set up, very easy to use and maintain. There are a lot of very cool and interesting things you can do with WordPress plugins as an author promoting your book. I talked before about keyword and key phrase selection. You can use the Google AdWords tool. You can also use ubersuggest.org. As you start heading toward launch, you may decide that you want to use this tool called Hootsuite. It's probably one of the best social media messaging scheduler tools out there. It's probably definitely one of the biggest. Although I have heard some issues about it. You want to go take a look at Hootsuite and understand what it can do for you, how much time it can save you, and if you are going to be running a book launch that depends heavily on a social media presence, then Hootsuite is definitely something you want to take a look at. If you want to do link shortening and tracking, if all you care about is the shortening, you can use tinyurl.com. But if you want shortening and tracking, bit.ly.com is a great way to do it. I said before that you need to create an email list, a permissions-based email list that you can mail to let them know about your upcoming launch, your next book, your series, your book cover contest, your new Pinterest editions. Aweber and MailChimp are very, very good, affordable, easy-to-use services. Look into Google Hangouts, especially if you're doing nonfiction. And there's also, I think it's called Google Helpouts. I have to go look. I tried to set up a Google Helpout account yet, but I haven't been approved yet. The Google Hangouts are a great way to engage your audience. So you should understand what they are and if they're applicable, especially if you've got a nonfiction book, to your efforts to reach out to your market. And then some more recommendations. I said before, check out the Goodreads and the Goodreads giveaway programs, but also take a look at Library Thing. Library Thing was sort of the Goodreads I think it actually came before Goodreads, but it didn't. It was more of a part-time endeavor for its founder and didn't take off the way Goodreads did. I mentioned Wattpad and its smaller competitor Figment. Give those a shot. If you haven't looked at Author Marketing Club already, I subscribe to it. I like it a lot. Although I was on it last night and I was having a lot of trouble with its videos. But Author Marketing Club has some tools on it that I really like. Probably the most super valuable tool on the Author Marketing Club is their Review Grabber tool. And that's the tool where you open up the tool, and you have to subscribe to Author Marketing Club to get it. So it's $105 for the year. You open the tool, you tell it, here's the author and the title of a book that's like mine, or that's in my genre, or that people who read this book might also like my book. And their Review Grabber tool goes out and scrapes Amazon and brings back to you the email addresses and or blog URLs for every reviewer that has reviewed that book, which then helps you build your list of 400 reviewers that you're going to try and reach out to. I don't, short of endless days of hunting and pecking and clicking on the Amazon website, I don't know of another tool that's better than the Review Grabber tool at authormarketingclub.com. I'm frankly kind of envious of it. I'd like BookFuel to have a tool like that. But it's a fantastic tool. They've also got another very good tool which is available for free, or at least it's available in their trial membership, which is their Amazon Description Enhancer. You should definitely take a look at Author Marketing Club. If you're doing nonfiction, you're also going to want to look at what your Clout score is. Clout is, you can decide whether you believe in it or not, but in theory, it's a measure of your impact on the web. And if you have a nonfiction point of view, particularly prescriptive nonfiction, and you want to know how you're doing in terms of your personal reach in the marketplace, Clout.com is a great way to find out, track, and see what's working and what's not. I mentioned before about author anchor sites. If you don't have one already that you control, that you own, Section 101 and Squarespace.com are two pretty good services. I think you've got to, you want to carefully examine their FAQs and all the stuff that comes with their services, but they're very comprehensive. Of course, when you go look at them, make sure that you can always take your stuff with you, or that they can build it on your unique URL. You don't have to use one of theirs. But take a look at those two services. I especially like the folks at Section 101. I think that they're really out to help authors, artists, musicians, and it shows in the design of their websites. I talked about BookBub. If nothing else, go look at BookBub so you can understand what their minimum requirements are to be listed. I would guarantee you as a self-published author, especially if you're doing what they call commercial fiction or genre fiction, that you are going to want to take a run at a BookBub listing, and you need to understand how that works and what that costs. I talked earlier about Gumroad and Square. Those are for online and offline sales, payment collection, respectively. There's also another service out there that looks pretty decent. It's called mybooktable.com. I don't have any authors that have used that one yet, but it does look like it's got some potential. One of the things you also want to investigate is Google authorship. So if you haven't already figured out how to start tagging all of the content that you are generating for the web using the Google authorship program, you want to do that, because one of the things I might have skipped over in my earlier advice was, you want to go see what when you put your author name or pen name into Google for organic search and Bing, you want to know, do you even rank on the first page? Right? Google authorship is a method to help you show up in the organic rankings and to get credit, if you will, for all the great content that you're creating on the web. Google, the search engine, is all about content. It's not so much about authority anymore, although it's very much about authority and content. I shouldn't say it like that. It's not so much about linking and who links to you. It's much more about content and authority. And so their authorship program is a great way to understand that. If you've got nonfiction, go get yourself set up on helpareporter.com. These are called Heroes, help a reporter out. So that you never know when lightning might strike, and some reporter wants to call you for for an article or for an interview or for a television appearance. One thing that's going to be critical whether you're in pre-launch, launch, or post-launch is you want to measure the marketing that you're doing. That's one of the reasons that I like bitly.com is that it'll allow you to track track clicks. So every time someone uses one of your Bitly links, you can see how many times it works. So, for example, if you do a guest blog post and you want to put a shortened link to your back to your book, using Bitly can tell you, okay, well that guest blog post got me 0 clicks, but this guest blog post got me 100 clicks. So I either want to keep writing about that topic or keep writing on that blog. Check your Facebook likes. Almost every author is going to create a Facebook page for their book. Rather than their personal, they're going to create a corporate one, and track your Facebook likes on a daily basis. If you're going to invest in Wattpad or Figment, track your followers. Know what's happening in terms of your increased footprint on Wattpad. And of course, as long as we're talking about tracking your follows, find out what's going on in your blog, on Twitter, on Pinterest, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, and email subscriptions, right? So you're collecting on your anchor site email names from people that want to hear about your next book. How many of those are you getting every day? How many are you getting every week? How many visits are you getting to your blog? Set up Google Analytics on your anchor website so that you can track what is working. What articles are getting the most clicks? What is generating the most traffic? Where are you getting bounces? Google Analytics is it's a little techy, but once you get the hang of it, the reports can be very, very valuable when you're trying to make sure that the content you place on your anchor site is getting the traction with your engagement with your audience that you intend. I mentioned a few minutes ago about using Google and Bing organic search on your author name or your pen name. You also ought to go in and set up some Google alerts. So just Google them, Google Alerts. Set a Google alert for your title, for your author name, pen name, maybe even for if it's unique, for your protagonist and antagonist names, and see how they're showing up. It'll give you a good sense of what kind of impact your marketing is making in the market, but it may also uncover for you some opportunities, some creative marketing opportunities you didn't think about before. So if you're, or even if you got a nonfiction book, set a Google alert for your subject area or topic area. You may have to fine-tune your alert a little bit so that you're not getting overwhelmed with Google alerts. But this is a daily or weekly report that will tell you what is the web doing out there with your name or your book title or your subject area or your character's name. And it can provide you, as I said, not only a measure of how well you might be doing, but also might tell you or alert you to marketing opportunities that you serendipitously hadn't thought of before. Trackyourcloud.com score. Once you go to cloud, you'll get a sense of what I mean there. So, final recommendations. We're back where we started. And I hope that I haven't made this too confusing, this concept of a phased marketing plan. We'll just go back to that grid real quick. Here we are. We just talked through a bunch of ideas for your setup, for your pre-launch phase in each of these 4 marketing stages. You can pick whichever behavior model you want to track. These are just the way I like to aggregate them into these 4 stages. But all we've talked about so far is pre-launch. 2 weeks from today, we'll talk about the launch phase. There'll be a lot more tips and tricks and things to do in the launch phase and the post-launch phase. I'm almost reluctant to talk about marketing because every book is different. Every target audience is different. Every book is a different quality. Every author's goals are different. And it's very hard to give blanket advice to everyone that everyone should follow. As you look through these tips, maybe you picked out 2 or 3 per page that you want to do and the rest you'll ignore. That's perfectly fine. We talked about a whole bunch of different ideas. I'll be happy to send these slides out to anyone that wants them. There were a bunch of tools as well. But finally, at the end, I would say, don't add a marketing program to your plan unless you will actually do it. And then when you do it, measure what happens. We've got a few minutes for questions. If anybody wants to throw up a question for me in the question box, I'll be happy to take it. Otherwise, we'll end a few minutes early. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining again today. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day.